Netflix has finally made a live-action version of Avatar. And since Paramount owns Nickelodeon, you'd think they would want a big hit for Paramount Plus. But I guess after they saw the Halo show, they said, you know what, let's give it to Netflix. I'm behind on big shows like Succession, The Bear, Peaky Blinders, The Boys, and The Sopranos. And yet my ass sat down to binge the Last Airbender remake for you guys. And I have a lot of mixed thoughts on this thing. There will be some spoilers throughout the video if you are planning on going into this completely blind, but if you have seen the original or straight up just don't care, let's start talking about it. Like most of you watching this, I grew up with Avatar: The Last Airbender. Those first 4 episodes alone are pretty burned into my mind with the amount of times my 11-year-old self was determined to rewatch the whole series from the beginning and then eventually giving up to go play Battlefront at a friend's house. But I hadn't returned to the show since that part of my life. So about a month ago, I rewatched the first season to get myself prepared for the Netflix version, and I still found it to be pretty solid. But I'm sure most fans would agree that the first season is the weakest of the 3, not only because it feels the most childish of the bunch, but also because of the darker lore that is later explored in books 2 and 3. So going into this, I was pretty skeptical, but kept an open mind. And I think after watching all 8 episodes, I think the show is fine. Which means every diehard fan that loved it can scream at me in the comment section. And every diehard fan that skipped it anyway because Sokka wasn't sexist enough apparently will scream at me too. But at the end of the day, I just think this entire experience is one big mixed bag. Is it the worst thing ever? No, we got that version already. But it does feel like the SparkNotes summary of the story, rushing through a ton of interesting storylines by cramming a shortened version of multiple arcs into a single episode. And I think the toughest part about reviewing this show as a complete season is the fact that the quality of storytelling is so inconsistent episode to episode. Like if I were to make a video after just watching the first 2 chapters, I would have said, yeah, Sokka's pretty good and the rest is trash. But then when you get to episode 6, you would think you're watching a completely different show from the pilot. So before I get into a lot of those negatives, let me talk about what I think does work in the show. Like I said, I think Sokka and a few of the other characters were perfectly cast. Ian Osley looks and sounds exactly like him to kind of a creepy degree. Like, does he really have that kind of jawline? Like, damn. And Dallas Liu has the perfect balance of that cringy immaturity that Zuko has in the beginning of the series, but as he opens up more and more about his backstory, I got really sold on his performance. Katara, Uncle Iroh, Fire Lord Ozai, a lot of the most important characters from the series are well cast here, especially compared to the Shyamalan one.
You're not taking him anywhere.
No one is taking anybody away.
I also think every scene that involves the Fire Nation is great here. Anytime there was political talk happening on that side of the world, I felt like I was the most locked in compared to any other scene of the show. And the additional background of Zuko's crew was actually a pretty genius addition. There are also moments that I thought they would completely skip over because of how bad they could have looked in live action, but they do make some really cool things come to life here. Like the entire Ko section is not that long, but I thought it was awesome. And I honestly think the live action bending is pretty decent here. There are definitely some scenes where it looks better than others, but for the most part, I thought it looked solid enough. Although I do think with a budget of $15 million per episode, it could have looked better than what we got. And this is a problem I have with pretty much anything Netflix makes, where all of their projects have this ugly soundstage, fix it up in post later look. But if they had just built a few actual sets or traveled to an actual location, I think the entire show would have just felt a bit more real and not people pretending to throw rocks at each other. And this is where I guess I'll start talking about the disappointing parts of the show, because there are a lot of things here that sometimes makes it feel like we are just watching a bunch of cosplayers who went to Comic-Con. Even though the bending itself looked okay, the action was never once exciting to me. A lot of the choreography looked super stiff or super goofy, and the amount of slow-mo in this made me double check the credits to see if Zack Snyder was somehow involved in this. But possibly the worst part of the show, and I cannot stress this enough, is the dialogue. Every other line feels like it was written by a film school student.
We aren't the real target.
My sights are set higher.
much higher.
I mean, that sounds like it's straight out of Spaceballs. And it's not just the dialogue itself, but the scenarios in which it's delivered too. Like whenever somebody magically comes out of nowhere to help point the characters in the right direction.
Zhao's boat. It's gone.
Zhao? He heard something about a flying cow near Kyoshi Island, so he set sail at dawn.
Or when the characters can't put together a single damn thing that's going on.
Sokka, the Fire Nation. I don't understand. Why are they here? After all this time, what could they possibly want?
Yeah, why are they here? It's not like something crazy happened 30 minutes ago. And then there are some moments designed like Marvel fan service where they try and get fans to clap.
My commentary!
Even though we're all watching this at home. Even Gran gets cringy when she starts repeating the opening monologue from the animated series. I know this all comes with adapting a cartoon, but the point of adapting something is to make it fit whatever medium you are adapting it to. And while certain things like the bending translate pretty well to live action, surprisingly, I just don't think the same can be said for a lot of these conversations. But in terms of other things that don't translate that well, I thought all of the black and white fighting in the last episode felt a little half-assed. Even though the lighting up with the fire was a little cool, it just felt like an Instagram filter most of the time. But more importantly, in terms of acting, there are quite a few people I don't exactly dig in this adaptation, and there's one big person I haven't talked about yet. I don't think Gordon Cormier, is that how you say his last name? I don't think he's a bad actor, but I don't think he's that good of an Aang either. And I don't think all of it is his fault, because he definitely plays off of the Aang that has the weight of the world on his shoulders, but I don't get that enthusiastic, fun version of the character through this portrayal. And you can't really blame Gordon for that, because that is a writing issue more than an acting issue. But when he mumbles a bunch of lines and nobody asked him to get a better take, I mean, I don't know if I should blame him or the directors for that. Anytime he tries to give a monologue, it just feels like he's reading off a teleprompter. And anytime he has a back and forth with somebody else, it feels like I went to the damn middle school play. And the energy he brings is just so low the entire show. But credit where credit is due, okay? He's better than Aang.
My name is Aang, and I'm the Avatar.
I also think there is a lot of inconsistency in terms of the acting. I don't know how to describe this other than comparing the series to Dune, which I just rewatched the other day. Because when you watch that movie, everybody feels like they are in that world, no matter what house they're a part of. Whereas in here, somebody like Ken Leung as Zhao just feels so fucking out of place in terms of his performance. And just that tone alone makes it feel like they could never nail down the style of what they wanted this live action world to feel like. And it's those kinds of details that hold me back from calling this a good show. In terms of an adaptation, I'd say it's okay. If somebody came up to me and said, should I watch this? I'd probably say, nah, you're good. And if they said, well, I've never seen the original, I'd say, nah, you're definitely good. Just go watch that instead. Because at the end of the day, a good remake should give a new fan an experience that is just as good as the original. And at the end of the day, I don't think Netflix fully accomplished that goal. But we'll give them a chance, and we'll see if they come in hotter with season 2. Well, if they don't cancel it like every other show that they make. Thank you guys so much for watching. I appreciate you as always. This is all of my social media right here. I'm the most active on Letterboxd because it's the best social media app. Come on. If you made it to this point of the video, be sure to like the video for me. It helps pay the bills, helps pay Ryan's bills when he's editing, even though I edited this one. We appreciate all the support so far, and it would just mean the world to me. It takes like half a second, so please, that would be awesome. But if you really liked the video and I didn't piss you off too much, be sure to subscribe. I talk about movies all the time. I love doing it, love talking to a lot of you guys in the comment section down below. So be sure to comment down below so we could talk about this show, because I want to hear what you think. This is a very divisive show so far. I've seen a lot of fans really enjoy it. I've seen a lot of fans really hate it, and I want to know where you guys are at. Are you excited for season 2? Do you think it's going to be just as good as this? Do you think it's going to be way worse? Do you think it's going to be a massive improvement? Any and all thoughts, please leave them in the comments section down below. And I guess that's it. So this is Chase. Thank you so much for watching as always, and I hope you have an awesome day. Thanks.